7:47, welcome back to First Up this Tuesday morning. Right now we switch our focus from mental health to financial health. From the Unit Trust Corporation, we have AVP Risk of the UTC, Akhenaton Marcano, and also Manager of Events at the UTC, Margaret White. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
When your colleagues were here, we focused heavily on financial well-being of the category called financially struggling. And your colleagues had indicated that no matter how financially struggling you are, it depended on your goals, your income, and understanding that you need to have a plan. We got some text messages after saying that, well, you know what, it makes sense on paper, but for my life, it doesn't make sense because I'm struggling on a day-to-day basis. I can't even think of saving or investing because I don't know where the meal for my next children are coming from. I am so financially struggling. Thinking of saving is beyond me. What do you tell someone like that?
Well, first of all, Paul, thank you, and thank you and Jessica for having us here this morning. As always, we thankful for the opportunity to share our insights into financial planning and investments with your viewers. And as you know, we have been profiling these investor segments in terms of Trinidad and Tobago, and financially struggling is just one segment. This segment is perhaps the one that's most trapped in a cycle. And you know, you describe it very well there in terms of you would like to, you'd want to, but you don't see any rational or objective way to do it. But we're here this morning to say that you have to break the cycle. And what we observe with this segment is that a couple of key things. They don't know or have a good sense of what their monthly income is. If you don't even know what you're making or have a good sense of what you're making, then you can't even begin to plan. All right? And this segment, in terms of our research, indicated that less than 4% of them actually use a monthly budget. So in other words, they may be saying they don't have the resources, but they've actually never really done the math. And it may sound like common sense, but it's really a discipline. And what we would suggest is do the monthly budget exercise. Even if it may seem to be an exercise in futility, do it. Because at least it will give you clarity and you can then make some decisions. So for example, at the month end, you look at your income, your total income, you say, okay, what is it that I must spend my money on this month? What is my hardcore compulsory expenses, my needs as opposed to my wants? So you look at the needs, you get them out, and you look at the residual and say, okay, can I, out of this, I want to apportion a particular amount for my savings or my investments plan. And we're not saying that it has to be a large amount. We recommend 10%, but at least make that saving like an expense in your plan.
What if my absolute needs, my food, my shelter, don't even my salary, my income when I write it down, because some people may not have permanent jobs or steady incomes, totally sometimes outweighs my absolute needs. I'm not even feeding my children properly. How do you deal with that?
Well, what we do is that we advise people to have a second job. You can do so by perhaps re-educating yourself. If you want to raise your profile, what you quite likely indicated is that they're struggling. And you're quite right. Most of them said that they worry about the expenses all the time. And so what we advise persons to do is really assess themselves, look at where I am, and perhaps they can monetize their skills in order to make money. You can start right from your home. You use, for example, if you can do plumbing, you can perhaps, that's what you do on a daily basis, because in profiling the struggler, they are like maintenance workers, construction workers, security guards. So why not do something else? Why not get a second job to earn additional income to feed your family and at the same time invest for the rainy season?
But what if you're in a situation where you're already working 2 and 3 jobs and you're still financially struggling, and even thinking about putting aside 1% of whatever you're earning, you can't do that because every single red cent has to go to meeting your commitments and obligations. We're not even talking about what you want, but your commitments in terms of bills and loans and what have you. If an emergency comes up in the middle of the month, you're dead, basically, because you can't even rise to that occasion.
Well, in profiling this particular group, strugglers, what it says is that although they are concerned, they worry all the time about their investments, about their money, not having sufficient money, they also save when it becomes necessary for an emergency fund. What is important is that persons must write down everything they do. You must have goals. You must set goals. And you have ranked them in order of importance. You can't just sit back and say, I don't have any money. At times when you write down, you realize, but wait, I have spent so much money on this and it's so unnecessary. So you write down everything, and what we advise people to do, write down, and when you look and analyze, you realize that you're spending things that you don't really need. So it is important that you write, you sort of have a goal for yourself. What are my goals? Identify what those goals are so that you can achieve those objectives. Short term, that is 2 years or less. You have medium term, which is 3 to 5, and you have long-term goals. And of course, we at Unit Trust have products that we can use to match those goals of the individual. So no matter where you are in the spectrum, you can definitely put aside something for the rainy day.
So the bottom line is, you need to be brutally honest with yourself.
Indeed.
And keep something like a money diary.
That's right.
To track your actual financial behavior
Indeed.
over a period of time.
Agreed.
Let's talk about that critical move in breaking the cycle, because that's what I think we're trying to, the objective we're trying to achieve with this group is breaking that cycle, breaking that mindset about I can't, to I can, because no matter where you are, if you look at the bigger picture and put all the pieces of the puzzle down on paper, that's the starting point, Akhenaton.
You're quite right, Paul. It is about breaking the cycle, and you know, it is easy to get into a situation saying it's not possible, like I can't do it. But you always hear these stories about people who saved a little every month, and they were able to build their house from scratch, and or you know, fund their education from scratch. So it's possible. I think it's the discipline that we all have to adhere to, and I'm not saying that it's easy for everyone, but I'm sure when some of us do that monthly exercise, we may say, hey, you know, that fast food place that I patronize 2 or 3 times a week, maybe it might be more cost effective to cut it down to maybe once a week, or you know, establishment that I normally go and share libations on a Friday. Maybe not,
I love it.
maybe not every Friday, you know, maybe once a month. So I'm saying there are conscious decisions that we'll be forced to take when we look at that money diary, when we are brutally honest, in the words of Jessime, and we start to dissect our expenditure. For those who really are stretched, I think they may have to make some conscious decisions to invest in their skill set, to build up their competency, so they can you know, get better paying jobs, or basically, as Margaret, my colleague, said earlier, try to use alternative sources of income. If you have a skill like ironing or what have you.
Things you may take for granted.
Yeah, people actually pay you for that these days. I mean, believe it or not.
Let's talk about that money diary as a tool that people may not understand. We just have a minute. We'll take you over the news break.
Okay.
When the news comes up in a minute. That money diary as a tool to go into institutions like the Unit Trust. How much of an advantage is that when you go in and say, well, I've been tracking my expenses for the last year, even a little diary?
Well, I would say it's an advantage in the context that at least it shows a discipline. So if you go to a financial institution that gives credit, that gives loans, Unit Trust doesn't do that, unfortunately, for some people, I would think, but we don't. But if you go into an institution that gives loans, they would say, okay, this person is disciplined. They know what they're about. They have a clear sense of what their income is, what their expenses are. You have a more credible story to give to
it's the starting point for investing in the future. We're going to take a short break. We're with Akhenaton Marcano and also Margaret White, I think I got it right, of the Unit Trust Corporation. And news is next, and we'll come back with more of their discussion after the news. Stay with us.
welcome back to First Up, the First Up in your busy day, just about 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. And we're still getting advice from our friends at the Unit Trust Corporation, particularly for those of us who are financially struggling. And trust me, if you cannot meet all your commitments on a monthly basis, you're financially struggling, okay? So just admit it, be honest and open about it. Tips: do a monthly budget so that you have a clear picture of what your financial reality is. Be honest and realistic about what you can and cannot afford. Do not hang your hat where your hand cannot reach. Another tip they've given us: think about getting a second job to bring in an additional income into your household. You have many skills which are marketable and from which you can earn money. Yes, you have to pay your taxes, but you're still going to be bringing additional money into the household. Have a money diary so you keep track of everything that you do. And another tip, be disciplined with your saving. Even if all you do is put aside $10 every month, $10 adds up over a period of time every month, particularly if you're saving towards something really big down the road. Let's continue with more of the tips and the pointers for we, the financially struggling out here.
Well, what I must say to you is that 85% of these strugglers don't ever plan to meet with a financial advisor, pay their debts, or even credit card and so on a consistent basis. So what we are saying to persons is use a salary deduction, use a standing order. In that way you will not miss it. You start then to maintain a financial health, and in that way it will be consistent on a consistent basis. As you know, Rome was not built in one day. So you get your salary on a weekly basis, you put something down. You get it on a bi-weekly or monthly, you put it down. And in that way, you'll be able to see growth, you will be able to see some type of financial well-being. You'll be able to achieve your goals. So it's not how much you earn, but how much you keep. And that's the important thing. Should
the financially struggling people in that category have a credit card rather than save towards goal? Because to me, the credit card is the reverse. You spend and then you pay off. And you get, and that's part of the cycle sometimes, Akhenaton.
Well, that's a tricky question. We believe that people should be focusing on investing as opposed to borrowing. And a credit card is a high-cost tool for borrowing. I know there are some credit cards that allow you to pay off the balance without paying any interest once you pay it off in a particular period of time. I mean, if you can be extremely disciplined about it, I wouldn't write it off. But for me, history shows what credit card addiction has done.
But in terms of developing the habits that you're talking about, that we need to develop in terms of understanding what I make, understanding what my basic needs are, not wants but needs, understanding what my goals are to get from point A to point B to point C, my short, medium and long-term goals. One would imagine that developing the proper habits and discipline is the way to go. If I am in that category called financially struggling, I should be trying to develop that goals, that saving, that investment, and working towards those goals.
Indeed, and as you say, credit card, there's nothing wrong in having a credit card. You can have it for an emergency purpose because, you know, the interest rates are rather high. So you want to have that, and you want to be able to pay that on a monthly basis within the timeline so that you don't pay that extra interest. However, we at the Unit Trust, what we have been doing as a tip is that we have been going out there on a regular basis, sometime on a daily basis, conducting financial planning seminars. And in that way, we educate persons, so we assist them so that they can become financially healthy. In addition to that, we use this program, First Up, and we are happy to do so in order to educate persons, to make them more aware, self-awareness as to how they can be financially well-being. As we saw, this group, they are strugglers, they just cover their basic expenses, and they worry about their finances all the time. And we want to be able to assist them, assist this particular group in being financially healthy, maintaining that balance.
When you've gone out to your seminars, educating people, what percentage of the population from the study also know how to do a budget? Because sometimes we presume, we say, well, do a budget, write it down. And it may seem basic to some people who may have had higher levels of education, but do you find more and more people are understanding what an effective budget is?
Indeed, they are. As a matter of fact, when they, after the financial planning seminar, I didn't know all of that. And what you found is that many of them will call and they want to get some more information. What we've said to them, write down everything that you want to purchase, that you need, write your needs. And so when you go to the grocery and or the market, you would write down the things that you need, and that way you would be able to not go over your budget, because many times you go to the grocery without a list and you buy things that you don't need. So it's important when we go there on the seminars, you know, they are more alert and aware as to how they ought to spend their money and at least have some for investing and saving.
So another important tip, don't be ashamed to ask for help on how to manage your money better. Take in a financial management seminar.
That's right. And we are happy to do so. In fact, I must say that we target the youth as well through our unit trust schools investment game. We educate them in terms of helping them to be financially literate. In addition to that, we have You and Your Money, and we also are on the radio programs on a regular basis. So unit trust is out there, more so this year because we are in our 30th year. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary year. So we will be out there everywhere helping persons to be really conscious of their financial well-being.
How and where can people find out where you're going to be next in terms of accessing the seminars?
Well, they can call us at 624-8648, and we will be happy to be anywhere. We go anywhere throughout.
So you take requests as to where you want to come?
Yes,
so
we do.
Community center can say, I want you to come and you'll come.
Community center, under a tree, anywhere.
Anywhere. So you hear that, call Unit Trust Corporation. They will come to you.
That's right.
All right, we've been talking to Akhenaton Marcano and Margaret White, both from the UTC. When we come back, we talk cricket right here at First Up. Stay with us.
Tobago Jazz Experience.